everybody, Monica Reyes here. I am founder of MonicaEReyes.com. I am a TEDx speaker and I am a spiritual mentor. And thank you so much for joining my channel today. Today we're going to talk about the topic of abandonment. Specifically, we're going to talk about how childhood abandonment really affects our adulthood. And believe it or not, but many people do believe that what happens in childhood doesn't actually come creeping into adulthood. However, during the ages of 0 to 7, you are forming your subconscious, 95% of your subconscious mind, and that will end up being who you are as an adult, who you are today. So yes, it absolutely does affect who you are. It affects the way that you show up in life, the way that you experience life, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your responses, what you attract, what you bring in, the reality that you create, and then how you respond to that reality. And if you don't process the emotional trauma of something like abandonment, it will continue to come into your life over and over and over again, because the universe is going to say, hey, so you have these big dreams and you want to fulfill your life's work in this mission. Well, here's an initiation. Here's something you're going to have to, this is what's standing in the way between you and your dreams. And this might be something, if you suffered something like abandonment in your life, this may come up, especially when you've reached your capacity and you're being called forward to a greater vision, to a greater dream, to step up in the world. So abandonment is defined as it's basically a traumatic loss, and you would see this like an example of this might be a death. So like a death of a parent or death of a loved one, somebody that you felt really, really close to. I've seen this with grandparents. If it was like, wow, that was my world, and he died unexpectedly. There might be divorce where a parent leaves, even for it doesn't even have to require, for forever. It could be, for a specific amount of time, enough to have made an impact where you felt that abandonment, and even if you feel like, well, sometimes I'll get, well, as an adult, like I've forgiven my father, I've forgiven my mother for leaving me and abandoning me. You as an adult have, however, the little girl, the little boy inside of you still feels wounded, which is why you have found your way to see this video, or you've been experiencing like maybe patterns, maybe you are trying to get into a relationship, and the relationship that you continue to find yourself in, the person continues to abandon you. Or maybe all of a sudden now you're faced with, some sort of traumatic experience of the potential death or sickness of a loved one, and now all of a sudden all this emotional turmoil is coming up and you don't know, and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening? And it's all related to this. So it's the way that this might manifest within you. If how would this affect, or how would this show up as an adult? So some of the things that you might see in yourself or in somebody that might have been abandoned is so there's the little girl or the little boy inside of them that's still afraid that they're going to be abandoned. Like they still haven't gotten over it. So they're not feeling secure in the world. They feel like the rug could be pulled out from underneath them at any point. The other shoe is about to drop. They don't feel rooted and grounded or secure in the world, which causes them to be half in, half out. So you might see like a lack of emotional intimacy, emotional unavailability. Like I'm not going to open up my heart all the way, because when I do, I'll experience a lot of pain, because I experienced last time I did that, my father left or my mother died, and I experienced an enormous amount of pain. So I'm going to create like a wall so that doesn't happen, right? Because love people that I love die, people that I love leave me, right? That might be the belief under there. You might see self-sabotage. So because you fear, you're afraid of abandonment, or you've already experienced it, maybe because again, if you didn't process it, which most people haven't, unfortunately, that's a society we live in. We don't do that all the time. What'll happen is you'll continue to create these relationships. And so you might self-sabotage. So you might be like, I'm going to leave before being left. You might all of a sudden you'll get yourself into unhealthy relationships, so that, you don't have to reach for the stars or get the one that you were really worthy of, or the one that you really deserve, because they're going to leave anyway. Maybe you might push them away because you're afraid of the rejection. Maybe you will get extra needy, or jealous, or very controlling. Those sorts of things. Maybe you'll need a lot of reassurance. Do you love me? You're going to stay with me, right? Because there's this constant insecurity. You don't feel safe. You don't feel safe that this person is going to stay, and it has nothing to do with the person, it has everything to do with the original event that happened, which is what you'll have to do. You'll have to go back and resolve that original event, and this is going to be inner child work. Other examples of how this might manifest in adulthood would be maybe people pleasing. So like, giving too much in a relationship, codependency, not being able to say yes, not being able to say no, no boundaries, right? Afraid that if you say no, this person will leave, afraid that you'll lose love, afraid that you'll lose connection. So those types of things where you give yourself away, you self-sacrifice because you are afraid of the rejection or of the loss. And this could translate also not only to people, but also the security in the world. Again, if it was a death or something that rocked your world, and there might be some complex layer that I'll talk about in a minute, but then you may also be like, well, I am happy right now, but I feel like something's going to happen. I feel like, that the other shoe is going to drop. It's too good to be true. You might have that kind of looming, like dooming feeling. Also, again, it might possibly be related to something like that, because like a death is so sudden, something so sudden like that rocks your security of the world. Am I okay? Can this happen again? Like I wasn't ready for that to happen, and now it happened. So what else can happen? And so there's like this like unsettled feeling your whole life. It could get complex. So as a child, let's say there was a divorce or a death in the parental line, then what might happen is everybody around you is so distraught, right? And what I've seen happen, this pattern over and over again, where the family is so distraught, they forget about one of the children or the child. So the child is left with processing this on their own. They feel, they not only feel abandoned by their parent, they feel abandoned by their whole world. Nobody actually goes in to check in, if they're okay. Sometimes if there was two parents, if like one of the parents died or left, and the other parent is left like a mess, then now the child has to pick up all the pieces. So now all of a sudden they lose their childhood, and they're no longer, they're like have to keep everything together, which is a lot to handle for a child. And then so that will end up manifesting into an adult who's like an overachiever, who like a driver, driving to super responsible, serious, doesn't play, doesn't see the value in creativity, and so there's, again, going back and resolving all of that. And there are, and I've got a beautiful framework that you can use to resolve that. And really the key is going to be to tap into that inner child, to tap in and see, like, why are you here? What do you need? And you're never going to get that security from outside of you. You're never going to get that safety from outside of you, which is why it feels so like slippery, because you've got to give it to yourself. And so that's going to be the work here. The work is going to be for you to provide yourself with the security. Right now, what's happening is this inner child is so, especially if you're feeling reactive, like if you're trying to find a relationship, or like I said, there's something happening in your life that's triggered, it's emotional and, turbulence. What will have to happen is you'll have to split. You'll have to figure out a way to disidentify from that child, so it's no longer you. They've hijacked all of your psychological functions, your thinking, your feeling, your experiencing of the world, your intuition, your impulse, your desire, your imagination. So you're gonna have to figure out a way, which I have a way, and that'll be in another video. I'll make sure to link it below here. But it'll be, you'll have to becoming a loving observer, so that you can step into adult. You can reparent that little child. The inner child. You can become the voice that they've always needed to hear. We're safe. I've got this. Everything is okay. I mean, we are secure. I will make sure that you're safe. You can be a child. You can play. You can, I will be here. I love you. I'm never going anywhere, right? So if you can create that relationship with that inner child, then you're golden. And ultimately, that's probably what they're going to need. They're going to need love or security. And so you're going to have to provide that to yourself. And that's a beautiful relationship that you get to do. And so once you can create that split where you can start to create that relationship, check in with that part of yourself every day. Be intentional. If you know that you're about to walk into something or talk to someone that triggers abandonment for you, then be intentional. Talk to that little part of you, that inner child, before you go into that conversation or before you go into that situation. You can add, affirmations and add that to your meditation, where you actually check in with your inner child. There's a lot that you can do. And if you stay and watch my YouTube videos, you'll learn all about it. But that is it for today. I hope you got value out of this video. And if you liked it, please subscribe, please like the video, please share it with anybody that you know that might need this right in this moment. And I will see you next time.